Welcome to another episode of Mac Related Things. Today we're going to do a quick downgrade from Big Sur. There's a few things you need to be aware of. So first of all, I'm going to go Command-Shift-U for Disk Utilities. I could also find that in the Finder's Go menu. And I'm going to select Disk Utility, Option double-click to close the window as I launch. So here we are in Disk Utility. To do anything useful here, we need to click the View button and go Show All Devices. Once we've done that, we can see we have an external drive here. It's formatted for Windows, and we need to erase that and use it for the Mac. So we want macOS Extended Journaled. Got to be GUID partition map, at least on Intel Macs. I don't know what the new Apple Silicon will do. And I'm just going to call it Backup. And we will erase the drive. Now we want to use this drive for multiple things. So let's do a partition. And we're going to add two partitions, 1 and 2. I've hit the plus sign twice. So for the first untitled, I'm going to rename it My Volume with a capital M and a capital V. This will be important later. And I'm going to set the size to 16 gigabytes. Then I'm going to do Untitled 2 as My Volume 2 and 16 gigabytes. Whoops, let's change that, 1.6. There we go. And when I click Apply, it's going to add these two partitions. So we have My Volume 2. Oh, it wants to leave this one as big. That's just kind of nuts. No, I want this to be 16, guys. Why are you? There's 27. Let's go 16, tab. There. So now we have a 16. No, that's 27. Come on, I only want 16. You got to fight with the user interface here. Gosh. It's difficult. Okay, 27, maybe there's a limit, a reason the first volume has to be, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I need 3 partitions, 2 of them 16 gig or a little bigger, that doesn't matter. And we're going to click Apply, and it's going to do that. And we just wait for this to complete. And we have the beautiful graphics of Big Sur as we watch this. We can click on Show Details, but I don't want to bore you. Click Done. So now we have 3 volumes on the desktop, right? Now, we've got some bad news for you. Time Machine's storage, if you used this with Time Machine, it would format the backup drive in a special way that only Big Sur and later can see. I say later because there will be later versions of macOS. But at the moment, Big Sur is the only one that can read its Time Machine drives. So if you create a brand new backup on Big Sur, just be aware you cannot use that backup for the downgrade. So how do we get our backup? Well, you could download Carbon Copy Cloner, which I have here. It's a nice piece of software. Look, there's an update. We can install it. And it's about, $39.99 American. It's about $56 Canadian. It's a great utility, but you could also do a backup just using the terminal. So where's the terminal? Well, it's back in that Utilities folder. If we go Shift-Command-U, scroll down, and there's Terminal. Again, I'm going to go Option double-click, and Command-Shift+ to make it bigger. And drag this window out here. Now, leaving that in the background for the moment, let's get our source and destination. So let's just say I want to back up just my home directory. I'm not going to worry about applications for now. So there's the home directory. My account's called admin. And then here's my backup drive, which has nothing on it just as yet. So I'm going to go as a list. I'm going to go and I'm going to right click, do a new folder, and I'll just call it admin-backup, right? So the way to do the backup is we can copy from one to the other. So we could drag and drop, but there's a problem. System integrity protection is a security regime Apple is running under, and unfortunately with SIP turned on, you won't get all of your home directory backed up. Certain things will not get backed up, and as it's copying things, it's going to keep asking you pesky questions like, oh, can I have permission to read the desktop? Can I have permission to read the documents? It's like, fine. So before we do this, we need to restart with Command R to get into recovery mode. So I'm going to do a quick restart with the Command R keys held down. As soon as the screen goes dark, I'm going to hold Command R. So I'm holding Command R. Command R is being held. There, and now we can let go because it's going to know we've requested recovery mode. Now it's a little bit slow loading into recovery mode because it's doing some special things. First of all, let's disable system integrity protection. So we'll ignore this for now. We go to the Utilities menu and go to Terminal. And I'm going to make this bigger with Command-Shift+. And to disable system integrity protection, it's not very intuitive. You go CSR util space disable. System integrity protection is off. Restart the machine for changes to take effect. Command Q out of the terminal. Now, while we're here, let's just check out our startup security utility. So you need to enter your macOS password for this. So I happen to know my password is Apple in this case for the test machine here. And we want to allow booting from external or removable media, and we want to turn secure boot off. Apple says medium security will work, but I can't get it to work, so I do recommend you turn it off. And you can turn all this back on again later. Now, I should caution you about this section here, firmware password protection. You don't want to mess with that, because if you forget the password to your firmware, you could brick your logic board, or you have to have a long slog with an Apple service provider, provide proof of purchase for your Mac, and they may be able to unlock it for you. So it's not a good idea to turn on firmware passwords. That's something that institutions like schools would have turned on to prevent students from booting from different devices, erasing their machines or hacking, what have you, right? But for normal users, just avoid that area altogether. Now, if you don't have the T2 chip, you won't see any of this here in the bottom. You'll just see the firmware password protection, right? And then you should just exit the utility. Okay, so we're done. We don't need to do anything else. We're just going to go Apple menu and restart. We're going to log back in. Now with system integrity protection off, we can get a nice clean backup of our home directory to our external drive. I just set the password to Apple on this, so for the purposes of this video, because it's nice and easy. So here's terminal again. Here's our source. Here's our destination. We're going to enter a command. Yeah, go away. Sudo. So that means switch to the super user, or super user do this command. And we're going to go CP, which stands for copy. You can tell Unix guys didn't like to type dash. Capital R for recursive. P to keep attributes, and V for verboseness, and then a space. And then we have source and destination. So we drag and drop our source, and we drag and drop our destination. So there's your full command. Sudo, so super user do, copy with these parameters, source, destination. So we're going to have the home directory copy to this folder on the backup drive. I hit return, something interesting happens here. Terminal wants a password, right? So which password is it asking for? Well, on this computer, which is just called Mac Pro, it wants my account password, assuming I'm an admin account, which is a good assumption for most Mac users. So when I type here, the key is showing here. Means it's not going to show me anything as I type APPLE until I hit return. And voila, we are now copying all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to hide the terminal here. So I'm going to show you on the backup drive. Oh, look. It's dropped it into a subfolder. Yeah, I did something silly there, but it doesn't matter. I think if I had a trailing slash on the source, it wouldn't do that, but it doesn't matter. The point is to have a backup. And let's just say I had a couple of apps that were drag and drop I wanted to back up. I'm not going to put them in that folder, obviously, but let's say 1Password, I don't want to download it again. So I'll just drag it and drop it onto the external drive. You know, we got BB Edit here, Crypt, there's another one. I can do drag and drop apps like this, but ideally, the rest of this stuff, we're just going to have to reinstall. So, yeah, I know that's not convenient, but Time Machine backups don't work from Big Sur down into older versions of the OS like Catalina, so we're kind of stuck. Anyway, let's just assume this all went to plan and it finished. I'm going to Control-C here to stop it. Sorry, Control-C, clear the screen. And I'll show you one other command. If you don't like CP, you can always do ditto. So you go sudo space ditto -vx. How do I remember VX? I don't remember what these stand for, except V is verbose. X is something to do with existing folders, merging them or something. I can't remember. Anyway, then we drag the source and the destination. But yeah, VX, I remember that's the VX gas in that movie The Rock with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. Anyway, that's how I remember the terms for the ditto command. So again, it's the same sort of deal. It's going to copy things into the folder here. And you see this time it's not going into a subdirectory. Anyway, long story short, you wait till this is done. I'm going to Control-C to abort early because I don't really need this backup. You would need the backup. You want to make sure everything is there before you move on. And then we need to do an installer for Catalina, right? So first of all, we need to find the Catalina download. And you won't find that on the App Store. So you have to do a net search. You have to go install older macOS. And look for the Apple article. Here it is. How to get old versions of macOS. And let me just show you Safari, Preferences, Advanced, Show Full Website Address. So you can see the URL of this article is support.apple.com/English Canada/ and then this number is the article's URL. So I'll probably have this in the description for you. You scroll down until you see Catalina, and you click on it. And you see it's going to connect us to the App Store, and we have a Get button. We can now download it. So you click Get, it'll download. It'll take a while. I've already got it in the Apps folder, right? So if we Command-Shift-A for Apps and go IN for Install, see I got a Big Sur installer and I got a Catalina installer sitting in here, right? So the next step is terminal command to create the installer from those resources. So we're going to do two installers. One, do I really need this turned on? I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, first we're going to need the installer for Catalina, but I also want to have a Big Sur installer for later because I'm going to do this again probably. So how to create macOS bootable USB is the question we're asking. And here's the Apple support article. And again, URL is here, support.apple.com. If you were in the US, it would, instead of saying CA, it would say -US. And then the article number. And you don't need to read this article. Just scroll down to the OS you care about. We're going to select this line, right-click, copy, or Command-C. And then we need the terminal. I'm going to hide this for the moment. Again, how do we get to terminal? We go to the utilities folder, scroll down, and there's terminal. We could also go spotlight, start typing TERM, and there it is, hit return. We've launched the terminal. All right, I'm going to go Command-Shift+ to make this big, and I'm going to drag it out, paste in the command, so it's going to overwrite my volume with the resources. And again, we have the key icon. I have to type in my password, which is, in this case, is APPLE. Don't see anything till I hit return. It says I'm ready to start. So it's found the fact that we already have the download, and it's found /volume/my volume. So external drives are always presented in this volumes hidden directory that most users don't know about. That's why it has that name. Press Y to continue, and away it goes. Now I'm doing this on a solid state drive, so it's going to be very fast. This particular drive is the the SanDisk 1 terabyte Extreme Pro solid state drive that I reviewed on this channel elsewhere. I'll put a link up here if you're interested. So it's going to erase the disk, it's going to copy the installer resources, then the most important thing, it's going to make the disk bootable so we can start up from it. So you can do this with any external USB that has decent speed. You don't want to use like a dollar store USB stick, and it should be about 16 gigs in size for Catalina. Now we're going to do the same command for, let's just hide terminal command, Option H, hide others. And now we can rename this to be my volume without the 2, because you can see it's renamed this one to be a Catalina installer. Go back to the support article and grab the Big Sur command, Command-C, or right-click, copy, and back to terminal, and Command-V to paste, hit return, and ready to start, press Y, and away it goes. So now we're creating a Big Sur installer. So it's kind of cool, you can have multiple installers, right? So I won't bore you with that, I'll just let that run. A couple things we need to turn off. So if we go to System Preferences, Touch ID, you want to delete your fingerprint for one thing. So let's delete that fingerprint, put in our password. The fingerprint is gone. Voila. And then we want to go into our Apple ID, our iCloud settings. Make sure that Find My Mac is turned off. You can turn it on again later. And go up to Overview and Sign Out of iCloud. Because we need to erase the Big Sur drive, because it turns out that Catalina can't. Not without diving into the terminal. So if you want to avoid the terminal, get into recovery mode one more time. Let's again boot with Command R held down. And if your recovery partition is missing, you'll be asked to establish an internet connection. If you don't have Ethernet plugged in, you may have to select Wi-Fi network and password. But for most people, the recovery partition is there. So here we are in recovery mode. And what are we going to do? We are going to run disk utility, continue. And again, view, show all devices. And there's our internal drive. We're just going to say erase. And we can accept whatever defaults come up, but I think it'd be safer to go macOS Extended Journaled. And I would give it the traditional name, Macintosh HD, even though it's probably not an HD anymore. It's an SSD. All right, so Macintosh HD, macOS Extended Journal, GUID partition map. And because we're in recovery mode, we can actually erase the disk that we booted up from. So this is kind of cool. We're in Big Sur recovery mode. That's an important distinction to make here. Right, so we're still booting from Big Sur. Click Done to continue. Okay, so we're done. So next step, we now restart again, but now we hold the Option key down and we select our Catalina installer. And then we're going to format the drive again. So I'm holding Option. Should get the Startup Manager. There it is. And we want to install Catalina. So I could click here, I could click there, and then I could click the arrow, or I could use my keyboard and hit the return key. And off it goes. So this should give us the Catalina installer, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. So I think we need to step into disk utility one more time inside Catalina and reformat the drive again, because we don't want to leave it with a Big Sur format, if you know what I mean. So even though we selected macOS extended journaled, we used Big Sur to format the drive. So I don't want to leave it that way just in case there are complications, because you never know what Apple does when they upgrade things. They love to change things, right? Alrighty. macOS Recovery, disk utility, continue, or you could double click. Once again, click View, Show All Devices. I'm not even waiting for the thing to show up. And we highlight our internal solid state drive, or if you have an HDD, that would be fine too. Click Erase. Now, if it's an SSD, you're going to want APFS this time. Okay? If it's an HDD, you're going to want macOS Extended Journaled. If it's a Fusion drive, stop the video, go watch my Fusion drive thing. I mean, you would go into Terminal here. I mean, I could show you briefly. So if it was a Fusion drive, you would come in here and you would go Disk Util Reset Fusion. And assuming that works for you, of course it's not going to work here because we don't have a Fusion drive. So back into Disk Utility, we've already clicked View Show All Devices, highlight, erase. This time I want APFS, and I'm going to call it Macintosh HD one more time. The partition map is, GUID is for Intel Macs. So I don't know if there'll be something new for Apple Silicon. So if there is, it'll be something different. So master boot record is Windows. Apple partition map is PowerPC. Legacy machines from 2006 and earlier. So definitely that's not going to be the option you want. Click Erase. Again, we're in APFS format because we are solid state. Those are the rules under Catalina. Big Sur is a different matter. But let's try APFS. We click Erase, and look, nothing happens. So there's your bug right there. And just to show you, journal doesn't work either. No, the only way out of this is the terminal. So we're going to go to the Utilities menu and select Terminal. And we're going to go Command-Shift+ to make it bigger, so you can see what I am typing here. So, disk util partition disk, and it's disk 0 is our target. GPT stands for GUID partition table, and APFS is the file system. Macintosh \space HD is going to be the name, followed by 100%. I think this is the command we need. And there we go. Now, if you are formatting hard drive, and this is Catalina or earlier, then you would want to do, instead of APFS, you would want to do journaled HFS plus, okay? But we don't want to do that here because we know it's going to turn it into APFS anyway. So we'll Command Q out of the terminal. Okay, so now we're ready to install the OS. Double click. Agree to the license and select the target drive and click install, and away it goes. Anyway, that's all I have to say today. Thank you for watching, and fade out.